All right, 1 minute warning. We'll do our 1 minute warning now. Thank you. Even though it's 7:03. Oh, okay. Cool. All right, 30 seconds. How long 30 seconds can feel. I really am watching. I promise. All right. I, Mayor Matt Girding, call the September 15th, 2025 City Council meeting for the City of Somersworth to order. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Pepin.
Yep.
Vincent.
Excused.
Gibson. Here. Parity Catanzaro.
Excused.
Michaud.
Here.
Witham.
Here.
Goodwin.
Here.
Cameron. Here. Barry. Here.
All right. Councilor Gibson will now lead the council in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the recognition of our indigenous people, our native ancestral Americans. This meeting takes place on Indokina, which is the unceded traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples, past and present. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land, waterways, living beings, and the Alnabuk, the people who have stewarded Indokina throughout the generations. Brings us to item 4 on the agenda, which are scheduled public hearings. We have 2 public hearings this evening. First, I will open the public hearing for ordinance 25-25, which is to amend Chapter 19 zoning ordinance, Section 14, Historic District by adding exempt activities, which, if approved, would remove the oversight of the HDC, Historic District Commission, of infill buildings within the Commercial Industrial Historic District. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to ordinance 25-25? Thank you. If you could state your name and ward in which you live.
Richard Brooks, 18 Linden Street, Ward 1, also chair of the HDC, which we discussed this at one of our previous meetings, obviously because it does affect us greatly. Obviously the goal of this ordinance change is to essentially strip the HDC of any real oversight. We'd still have a regulatory or a recommendation to the planning board and so on. And basically it just strips out any construction, but it still leaves in alter, modify. So I think it muddies it a little bit as well. I do believe this is a knee-jerk reaction to one development. I know that the tone and tenor of the HDC was one of the things that was mentioned here, and there was really only one development that I can come up with and other members of the HDC could come up with. We've had other developers, obviously on a much smaller scale, that have, like the Gar building, when they redid that building into residential, and other smaller ones like that. And those have always gone well, smooth, and as far as I know, always been approved. It's a rare thing that we even deny an application outright. Usually we can work through a way and find common ground and approve something that they're trying to get done. There's also a lot of things going on besides that relate to this as well. We've got the Historic District Advisory Subcommittee or committee that's been meeting not as often as I'd like. I wish we could get more done quicker, but everything in government moves slow. We just had a meeting before this meeting tonight, and I think there's a lot of things in the works with goals on that committee, as well as master plan revisions that are coming through the city that are sending out surveys and so on to tackle this very topic. So I think we're just jumping too fast to approve this. I will say at the same time, the very first paragraph that adopts the map as the official thing, I am all for that. Not me, but the HDC was all for that as well, because it is a clearer way going line by line on property lines is cumbersome and not very accurate because we've followed them. There's some mistakes there. So a map is a better way. So all for that portion of it, but the rest of it, you know, the HDC does respectfully ask that you hold off, let the other things that play out work into this. I know there's lots of problems and challenges with the HDC. I shouldn't say a lot, but there's always going to be problems. One of the biggest things is public misconceptions and the urban legends that come along with the HDC. You know, I couldn't paint my house this color. You know, we've never had any oversight over color. So, you know, some of these things come from that sort of misconceptions. You know, our downtown's struggling like many small business areas. Small business is becoming a thing of the past. Corporations are taking over every business, and it really comes down to what can succeed there. And our zoning ordinances, I think, really miss the mark because so much looks at commercial, industrial, residential uses, and then, you know, different districts allow this or that. You know, just one perfect example is if anybody's familiar with the large pink house that's on Maple Street, that would have made an awesome bed and breakfast. That would have been an awesome reuse for that building, but it can't be done according to zoning. So there's other things that play into this. It's not just the HDC. Lack of traffic downtown on Main Street is another thing that really handicaps the Main Street corridor. Businesses aren't going to come in if you don't have traffic there. So, you know, please don't blame all the HDC, everything on the HDC. You know, look at the big picture. There's a lot of different moving parts to this. I'll also say that on the HDC, at that last meeting, we discussed revisiting our guidelines because it's been 7 years since we last revised them. I know there was a couple chapters or sections that we didn't tackle because it was a big undertaking then, and we just kind of set them aside and we'll tackle these again. So we're planning on meeting, or I am planning on forming committee to do that as well, and I certainly want to hear feedback from councilors as well. So please feel free to reach out to me and share your bigger concerns, and hopefully we can come up with something that works for everybody here as well. So again, just respectfully ask that you do not pass that part of it. Other than the map, we're all for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else who would like to speak towards ordinance 25-25 this evening? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on ordinance 25-25. Next up, we have the public hearing on Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive Program application, which is City Ordinance 30, Chapter 31, from 28 Green Street, Somersworth, LLC, for their redevelopment project at 28 Green Street. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this application this evening? Anyone who wishes to speak? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing on the Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive Program application for 28 Green Street. That brings us to item 5 on our agenda, which is comments by visitors. Somersworth City Council and Mayor's Office welcome all visitors and encourage you to voice your opinions and views at council meetings. In accordance with Council Rule 7-C, a time limit of 5 minutes per person shall be in effect unless the council wishes to suspend the rules. Speakers shall not enter into a debate with any person, the mayor, council members, city manager, or department heads. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this evening? If you'll state your name and the ward in which you live, please.
I know the drill. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. George Poulin, Ward 1 in Grove Street, and I'm here tonight for the behalf of the Somersworth Historical Society and Museum. I just wanted to let you know that we are doing our 4th cemetery tour, the 27th, a week from this Saturday. It's a Saturday from 10 to 3. We will be having tours roughly every 15, 20 minutes all day long until 3 o'clock. So you're welcome to stop by anytime. I hope you come into town to watch it. This is the 4th one we've done, and I have to say, I think it's going to be the best. Down at the museum, I've got really an unbelievable crew this year, and I have to tell you that in the 23 years we've been there, this is the best year we've ever had. Record number of members. The lectures we've had standing room only and even had to turn people away. So we're really on fire this year, so I just want to let you know that. And come on down to the tour, and I want to thank the Public Works Department, Mike Babinski and these trustees, SAU, Public Work, I already said Public Work, and you guys for being here and helping support the museum. So thank you, and I hope to see you Saturday, the 27th. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I will move on to our next agenda item, which is item 6, approval of the consent calendar. The chair will obtain a motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes the minutes of the city council meeting held on September 2nd, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilor Gibson moves that the consent calendar be approved as presented, seconded by Councilor Pepin. Question for the council is on the adoption of the consent calendar. If you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying nay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
All right, we have, the ayes have it with one abstention, it sounds like. Consent calendar is adopted. Thank you. Brings us to item 7, which is comments by city councilors. Are there any comments by councilors this evening? Yes, Councilor Witham?
Thank you. I'll just jump on the coattails of George Poulin with regard to the cemetery tour. It actually involves characters that play the part of some of the folks that are buried there and a look back at their life. I helped out with it a couple of years ago. I'm helping out again with it this year. It's really a lot of fun and is a great way to not only see what is a beautiful cemetery, but to sort of dive into the city's history, which is really it's a pretty cool way to do it. So I'll jump on and just add a little bit to what he did there. So thanks for that, and thanks for the folks at the Historical Society for putting in the effort to do this. The other thing, and it's really a small thing, but it's a bit of an annoyance and a pet peeve of community members, so I thought I'd chat about it here. At the end of Cemetery Road at West High Street, when we redid Cemetery Road, we had much debate about the pedestrian refuge in the middle of that road, and we did a realignment of that road to make it 90 degrees to West High Street. And there's a traffic island, that pedestrian refuge, because of the width of the roadway that was done there by the engineers. And as you may recall, originally it was supposed to be a raised island, and now it's I'll call it recessed island into the street. You can drive over it, and as a result, people drive over the Keep Right sign. It's had to have been knocked over 24 times, 36 times. We keep putting it back up. It's obvious it doesn't work, so we have to look at another strategy, because if we put it back up, I'm willing to bet it's going to get knocked over again. We have a track record of this, and it's become sort of a laughing stock of the community. We just can't do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So I'd encourage Public Works and Engineering, and if we have to re-engage our engineers at Wright Pierce for a better strategy there, whether that's a different type of sign, a concrete barrier, flowers, I don't know what the answer is, or just take it down altogether. I don't know what the strategy is, but we can't continue to do the same thing. So, small thing, but it's a thing. So, there you go.
It's on my way to work, and I kid you not, my son and I place bets every morning as to whether it will be there or not. Other comments by councilors?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Gibson.
just to follow on to my fellow counselor, easy solution in my opinion. You do what very easily will discourage people after the first or two incidents. You put in a standard, maybe a little lower curving around that, because I'll guarantee you it's going to do one of two things. It's going to shred some tires, or it's going to rip some bumpers off. And word will spread very quickly that they shouldn't be running that sign over. And it's a very cheap option, well within safety standards. The other thing is, talking about the HDC. I've always been a strong advocate for the HDC. And it upsets me that generally they have become a scapegoat for all the problems caused by bad actors. And I think it's time that if we have an issue with the way things are done at the HDC, that the council has a responsibility to do a full-scale review of their charter and resolve any potential issues with that charter to better serve the community if necessary. You have very hardworking members on that board that through recent events have been made out to be obstructionists, I guess is a good word for it. And I think that's rewriting history in favor of certain viewpoints. And I think it's about time we stopped it. If you want something to work, you have a responsibility to provide the tools for it to work the way you want it to work. We have a beautiful city here in a lot of ways. And the only way you respect that is by fulfilling your responsibilities to provide the tools to the hardworking individuals, both employee and volunteers that are handling these issues, and not make it a political football. And one last thing, so I don't forget by the end of the meeting. Getting old has its disadvantages. Might not be the right place to bring it up, but I don't know if it's something that maybe the PD could help out with. But I think we seriously need to provide proper education, starting in the schools, about both vehicular and pedestrian behavior. I drive on a regular basis carrying passengers. And the stuff that I see going on every single time I hit the road, it is becoming scary. People have no respect for the rules of the road. Pedestrians think that they're entitled, I mean entitled, to do whatever they want on the roadways. And they walk out in front of moving vehicles without even looking. Now, I don't know if education can solve stupidity, but stupidity seems to be the popular modus operandi in this country now. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. But I would like to see a discussion about finding a way to better inform our young citizens and even our older citizens that there are rules to be obeyed, and it makes life easier and safer for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Other councillor comments this evening? Yes, Councillor Berry.
I was going to hold it till the end, but I will just do it now since we did have another couple of the Historical Museum come forward about their grave tales. I also wanted to announce that the Historical Museum is also partnering with the HDC, and that we now have a plaque program for historic properties within Somersworth. This is not limited just to the HDC. It is for any property within Somersworth. So if anybody is interested, those applications can be found at City Hall as well as the Historical Museum. So I encourage you all to take a look. We also have an example of what those look like on the flyer. And I also want to give a special thank you to the CTC program, because they are making these plaques for us and they've come out really amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, they are beautiful. Thank you for reminding us of those. Other councillor comments? Anybody? Okay, moving on. Brings us to item 8, which is communications. First up under communications, we have a presentation this evening about the Mayhew program from Peter Saliba, who serves as the executive director of the Mayhew program. So I invite him up to kind of give us a bit of background and info on how this program works. So thank you.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Peter Saliba. I'm the executive director of the Mayhew program. This is my colleague, Tanner Thompson, who's going to assist with the presentation today. Before I get started, how many of you have heard about the Mayhew program? Okay, great. So I'm happy to tell you, I'm not here to ask you for money, okay? Tanner and I are here simply to educate you about the work that we have been doing since 1893 in the state of New Hampshire, okay? Mayhew is a program. Go up one more. Apologies. This is my issue. My laptop was not functioning perfectly. Perfect. Not my best angle, sorry. I think I can probably just do this without the presentation on. Thinking about it? I think I'm gonna go ahead and just do it without the presentation. Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. If you could just leave it just like that, that would be great. Okay.
You could get a camera on it if you'd like.
No, that's okay. This is going to be short. This is gonna be short. Okay, thank you. So Mayhew is a program that gets New Hampshire boys to believe in themselves, work well with others, and find their best. And if there's one takeaway I want you to have from tonight's presentation, and that is that we believe in boys before they believe in themselves. Okay? We believe in boys before they believe in themselves. Mayhew exists because there is a crisis for boys in New Hampshire. Boys are the ones most likely to be kicked out of school. Boys are the ones that are most likely to be homeless or food insecure. And boys suffer a higher incidence of mental illness in our state. And in New Hampshire, at the poverty line, there's a 68% chance that you're going to graduate from high school. A Mayhew boy, the percentage is 90%. So we're doing something right. The way our program works is that we provide a tuition-free experience for boys starting at age 10 to come to our island in Newfound Lake. We have our own island where we have a 3-week program providing mentoring to boys in a very traditional summer camp environment for 3 weeks. After that summer session is over, we continue to meet with the boys at least once a month throughout the entire year. So Mayhew's secret sauce is the fact that we get them in the summer, we introduce them to our values, and then we reinforce those values throughout the school year. This is because teenagers forget everything after 3 weeks. And we have the ability to remind them of what we're teaching them at camp. Mayhew is an 8-year mentoring program. Kids come to us at age 10, and they leave us when they graduate from high school. Throughout this entire time, we are providing them with some of the things they would otherwise not have access to, and that is a male role model. 90% of our kids do not live with both parents. They live in what we call alternative family situations. A single mom, a cousin, a grandparent, or they're in the foster system in the state of New Hampshire. Boys are referred to our program through their primary school counselors. We identify boys who are at or below the poverty line, and then we look at some of the risk factors that they may have. That's what gets them into our program. These risk factors include being homeless, being food insecure, having a history of incarceration in the family, a history of mental illness, of sexual abuse in the family. Those are the risk factors that we look for. Then we interview the boys and the families, and then we admit them to our program. Mayhew has been in existence since 1893, It's in 1969 when we formed our own 501c3. Since 1969, we've served about 2,400 families from the state of New Hampshire, and we work only with New Hampshire boys. And we've served a number of families from the Somersworth area, which is why we're here tonight. We want to raise the awareness of the program. Tanner is our employee or outreach worker who has responsibility for Somersworth. I'm going to have him present a little bit about the actual meat of the program. Tanner.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter, and thank you all for having us today. You know, Peter gave a nice big oversight of what Mayhew is, and I want to dive into kind of what we really do, what it looks like to be a Mayhew boy. So, as Peter said, there's two parts of Mayhew. There's our summer aspect, where the kids come out to our 3-week residential summer program on Lake Newfound. And what this is it is an opportunity to start working with the kids when they are young and instill 4 big values we focus on. And that is respect, responsibility, community, and challenge. So Mayhew is there's kind of 4 aspects during the summer. Our first one is it's structured. It's really, really structured. We have a schedule every day. The kids wake up early in the morning. They brush their teeth. They get breakfast. They go to their chores. It's a stable environment, something that many of them aren't used to, something that oftentimes feels uncomfortable when they first get there. And we show them that stability it's something to be embraced. It's something that shouldn't be foreign to them. And through that stability, we also show them that failure is okay. Part of the summer camp is challenging. We challenge them by design. And we challenge them in an environment that's overwhelmingly positive. When a kid fails, when a kid doesn't hit whatever goal he might have set for himself, whenever he's feeling a little down or makes a mistake, we're there. The counselors, the senior staff like myself or our summer counselors are there to lift them up, get their spirits high, and put new tools in their tool belts to overcome whatever challenge they might be facing. And these challenges don't just stay at summer camp. We give them these tools that they can go home to their communities, to their schools, and to their homes, and use those same tools to overcome whatever barriers they might have in their life. And we do lots of activities that we're always working with the guys at camp. We do fishing. We have 4 big sports that we focus on, and that's soccer, baseball, basketball, and floor hockey. Introduce many of the kids to a sport they might have never played, something they might want to pursue later in their life when they get back home. Or for those kids who excel at soccer, who excel at basketball, give them an opportunity to work with their cabin. There's 7 kids in a cabin. They've never met them before, and you got to work together as a team on a basketball court. That's not easy. And it's an opportunity for those kids who know the sport to step up and teach the other kids and their cabin mates, really be a leader. That's kind of a quick little overrun of our summer. But then there's the community year, the school year aspect, where I'm the Seacoast outreach worker, so I work with all the kids from Dover, Somersworth, Rochester, Portsmouth, and a couple others that hang on the outskirts. And what we aim to do is those values that they learned at camp, to bring them into their community year, bring them into their community and share it with others. So we don't just see them for the summer and then leave them hanging for the school year. I'm there for when a kid might have something come up in his life that he needs a trusted adult to talk to. He can come and give me a call, and we can schedule a visit. And what that visit looks like is it's usually about 2 hours where myself and usually 2 or 3 other Mayhew boys will go out into the community and do different things. We'll chat. Fishing is a big one that I do on the Salmon Falls River right over here. We go and play sports. We might go play some chess. But just get out with a trusted group of people that they can bounce ideas off of. When they're young, it might be having troubles that we all had in middle school, like feeling anxious in front of a group of people. Or when they're older, it might be things like college, finding a job. I know there's one boy, a Somersworth boy, who he turned 16, and he had no one to show him how to apply to jobs. Where does he go? He had no one to look to. And he asked me, and I said, this is an easy fix. I scheduled a visit with him, picked him up, and we went around to the variety of businesses, pizza shops, fast food, all entry-level positions. got applications from him. We filled them out right there in the car, walked right back in and turned him in. And he was anxious the first couple times, so I went with him, and by the third one, he was on his own. Next thing you know, a couple weeks later, he calls me and he says, I got a job, I'm hired. And he's been working there since for about a year now. But the really cool part was seeing about 3 months after him getting hired, 3 or 4 months, he calls me and he says, hey, can we get a visit scheduled? And I say, absolutely. I go and I pick him up a couple days later, and he comes running out to me, jingling a brand new set of keys in his hands. He had gone from unemployed, lost, not knowing where to go, to getting employed, saving up, and buying his first car. Something that many kids in his position might struggle with if they don't have someone to guide them. And that's what we're there to do. I believe that it takes one person to believe in a child to really change their life. And that's what we aim to do. And thank you, guys.
Right. So thank you. We want to be available to take any questions that you might have about Mayhew and the work that we're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions from the council? Anybody? Yes, go ahead, Councilor Pepin.
So for each session, we have 42 kids come to the island for session 1 and then another 42 for session 2. But over ages 10 to 18, we have about 225 boys currently in the program.
Great.
Yep.
Any other questions from the council? Councilor Witham?
Just want to say hello. I texted a coworker of mine because I think he's spoken about this before. He lives in the Lakes region, Rick Alpers, and he says hello. So.
Yeah. He's our currently our board chair. Yep.
Too funny. Small world.
Yeah, tiny world.
Yeah. Other questions or comments from councilors? Councilor Barry?
So it sounds like you're looking for kind of male mentors. Is that something that you're constantly looking for? I understand that those can be kind of hard to find sometimes.
They are hard to find. When we do advertise, we get a lot of applicants for the job because Mayhew is one of a kind. We think we're the only program in the country working with boys in this manner. So we're lucky enough right now to get a high number of applicants. Winnowing them down to the right fit is always a challenge. So far, so good. We've had good luck with that.
Other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I do want to close out by saying thank you both for everything you do and for what the program does. I've been well aware of Mayhew since I'm a teacher in the schools here, and I've met a number of your students that have come through your program and through the school system, and I cannot speak to the amount of gratitude that I have as a teacher for what you do, as what they have as young adults, and probably many now adults, because I know some of the ones I've taught are 20, 21. But the amount of work that you do, the benefits that you provide for them, the things that they learn is really very important and critical. So I cannot say thank you enough. So truly. And thank you for being here tonight.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome. Absolutely. All right, thank you. Next up under agenda item 8, communications, we have a letter of resignation from Ward 4 moderator David Pinsence. City Clerk, will you please read the letter?
After serving 5 consecutive 2-year terms as an election official, I regret to inform the City of Somersworth that I must officially resign my position as Ward 4 moderator at this time. My mom has terminal stage 4 brain cancer, and I have relocated down to southern Massachusetts to take care of her full-time and to manage her estate during this period of transition. I recently changed my residence to Massachusetts and am now a registered voter at a local city ward there. Thus, I think it is best to formally resign and notify you that I can no longer continue in my capacities as an election worker in New Hampshire. I may move back up to New Hampshire when things run their course down here in Massachusetts and to be closer to my adult children in New Hampshire, but it has been a pleasure and an honor to serve the city over the years, and I will always carry with me many, many fond memories. If you need anything else from me on this matter, just say the word. Sincerely, David Pinsence.
And thank you to David for his time with the city. Appreciate that. Brings us to item 9 on our agenda, which is presentations. We have none this evening. Brings us to item 10, which is the mayor's report. I'm actually happy this evening to deliver a proclamation. I will invite up Jane Sparks from our Gear Up New Hampshire program to receive this proclamation this evening. Come on up, stand right here at the podium. I'm going to read the proclamation. I'll go down and I'll pass it off to Jane, so thank you. So I'll be proclaiming September 22nd, to September 26th, 2025, as Gear Up Week in the city of Somersworth, New Hampshire. Whereas Gear Up, which stands for Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs, is a federal program funded by the U.S. Department of Education, whose mission is to significantly increase the number of underrepresented students who are prepared to enter and succeed in post-secondary education. And whereas Gear Up New Hampshire aims to increase opportunities for New Hampshire's underrepresented students to access higher education, build a bridge between high school, businesses, and colleges in New Hampshire to prepare students for success. And whereas Gear Up New Hampshire seeks to create pathways for New Hampshire's underrepresented students to increase retention and ease transitions from high school to post-secondary education. And whereas Gear Up New Hampshire will nurture a college-going culture within the Granite State so that every student embraces the idea that college is possible. And whereas Gear Up New Hampshire will support more than 4,000 students from the state and will receive direct service to ensure that they are college and career ready. And whereas Gear Up New Hampshire will engage businesses, high schools, colleges, and parents to make all New Hampshire school students future ready. Now, therefore, I, Matt Girding, Mayor of the City of Somersworth, New Hampshire, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim that September 22nd to September 26, 2025 is Gear Up Week in the City of Somersworth, New Hampshire. Thank you. Absolutely.
You want a picture of that?
Yeah, you want to do a picture? Great. Sure. Thank you, Dave. You're always good about this.
That was terrible. There you go. Thanks.
I will say we are fortunate this year to have Jane working at both Somersworth Middle School and Somersworth High School. She's working with the 8th grade class and the freshman class and is providing us ample opportunities, a number of opportunities for our students, including field trips, direct visits with potential careers, colleges, bringing things on site to the schools to kind of teach our kids about all these possibilities, and really is just kind of tapping us into a number of resources we wouldn't have otherwise had. So thank you again for everything you're doing. All right, and that concludes my mayor's report. Next on the agenda is a report of standing committees. First up is our finance committee. Councilor Witham.
No report of finance.
Thank you. Next is Government Operations Committee, Councilor Michoud.
No report this evening.
Thank you. Next is Economic Development Committee, Councilor Goodwin.
No report.
Thank you. Next is Public Safety Committee, Councilor
I have
Pepin.
no report this evening.
Thank you. Next is Public Works and the Environment Committee, Councilor Witham.
I do have a report there. Public Works and Environment Committee met on Wednesday, September 3rd at 5 p.m. here in City Council chambers. I will just say out of the gate that the meeting was more of a conversation around several sort of larger topics, and no action was taken on any of these, but we're simply utilizing the committee as a sounding board for the city manager to provide he and staff with some direction on some of these matters. The first of which is an agenda item under other tonight, which is some near-term plaza improvements. The city manager heard councilors and members of the public over the last several months talking about the plaza and the need maybe to take some action in the near term to at least, I'll use the term spruce it up, to include pressure washing, painting, repair of the stairs and things of that nature, some landscaping. So the city manager shared those ideas with the committee. The committee was in support of those ideas. We came to understand that it would be 50,000, give or take, in that amount, and we would have funding sources in our current budget to be able to do that. So we sent the city manager off to refine that plan, and he's here tonight to deliver that. I will share that he and I chatted about the need to bring it to finance. The Public Works and Environment Committee is the same members of the Finance Committee, so I did not see the need for that added step. So we thought running it through Public Works and the Environment was enough. So he's here to present that tonight at the appropriate time in the agenda. I'm sure he'll outline some of that in his manager's report as well, for us to maybe take action on it a little bit later on here this evening. The next item we discussed at some length was our ultimate move to curbside refuse collection and recycle collection being done with the toters. We know that Waste Management has targeted that to take place, I believe, in 2027, whereby the toter would be on the side of the road and they would use a mechanical arm on the side of the truck to pick up both solid waste and recycling. That is a substantial shift from the current paper bag program that we're doing now. There is some thought through staff and committee that maybe we can continue with our paper bag program. How that would work with the toters, we're not quite sure. But if we could stick with that model, I think there's a general desire to do that. It's just, how do we do that, right? But there's a bigger conversation around a lot of ordinances, the number of units and where trash goes, and if we change that, would there be space for dumpsters? And there is just a lot of logistics around this, and city staff will continue to work with this and bring back components to the committee at the appropriate times as we gear up for that transition in 2027. Part of that discussion was currently, case in point with my house this morning, I had an old mattress that went out at the curb with 2 stickers that I purchased last week from the city clerk's office. How would we handle those large, bulky waste items with a toter system? Probably can't be done. So we had a discussion about, do we ultimately have maybe a more robust solid waste transfer facility here in the city? Maybe it's not open every day, maybe it's open once a week for these large bulky items, or maybe it is open more often, and where does that go and what does it look like? And we don't have answers to any of that yet, but this is a conversation that is ongoing and is exactly what we had at the committee level. So much more to come on that, but rest assured that conversations are taking place, and city staff, in particular the manager and Director Babinski, are very much engaged in those activities. Next item we discussed sort of at a high level was the ultimate Complete Streets project for Main Street from John Parsons Way all the way to Indigo Hill Road. As we know, Wright Pierce Engineers has continued to work on that. We've done Cemetery Road, we've done Constitutional Way, and the last road that's in design with them is Main Street. There was some discussion by council, or at least at a committee level, that we might take this in phases along Main Street. Maybe a change in direction there where instead of phasing it in sections or by blocks, we phase it from the ground up. We think we have an opportunity to leverage state revolving loan funds for water infrastructure. So maybe the first step in this project is to replace the water line. Then the next step to look at drainage. So instead of doing it block by block, we're kind of coming from the bottom up, if you're following my analysis there. So that's what we're looking at there. More to come on that, but there seems to be at least an appetite to explore this this type of phased work, looking at the utilities first and ultimately get to the streetscape last. So as is typical for this committee, we had a discussion on some miscellaneous items, but that was the gist of the committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead. You have a
Quick
question?
question. In this phased approach to Main Street. How would that affect the continuity and the accessibility of the roadway if you're doing water process, gas process, or whatever? Would you constantly be refilling to bring the,
I think those are details that we don't fully yet understand and need to be flushed out. This is a very preliminary conversation about maybe just a different approach, so more to come.
Thank you. All right, brings us to Recreation Committee. Councillor Cameron? All right, thank you. Brings us to item 12, which is reports of special committees. Are there any reports of special committees? Yes, Councillor Barry.
Just because I missed last council, unfortunately, because I was under the weather. The HDC did meet on August 27th. They had 5 applications. All were approved, except for one was tabled. So, and I already spoke to this, but we also rolled out the plaque program.
Thank you. Any other special committees? Yes, Councillor Witham.
Just an update, the special committee that you formed, Your Honor, with regard to our athletic fields needs at the high school. That committee will get started again after a hiatus over the summer. And our first meeting will be on Thursday, September 25th. It'll be at 6 p.m. at Dover High School in the library. We are going to Dover High School to look quickly at their fields and things, but more importantly, to talk with members of their committee that eventually have now gotten to an approval phase of redo of all of their athletic facilities, a much bigger scale project than ours. Theirs is an $18 million project. But to talk about the process, at what point did they engage professional services like engineers and architects, and when did it move from beyond conception? So just to help sharpen the needle of our work here in Somersworth, where they've already gone through it, let's learn from them. So
Thank you.
that's September 25th, Thursday, 6 p.m., Dover High School in the high school library.
Thank you very much. Other reports of special committees? All right, seeing none, I will turn it over to our city manager to deliver the manager's report.
Good evening. I just have 2 items requested for action this evening. One is the revision to the power purchase agreement we currently have in place with Amoresco. This item is in follow-up to the school board's decision to lend its electric load to this power purchase agreement for the purposes of better positioning the city as a whole to take advantage of the regulatory environment for net metering. That is to say, whereas for your current agreement, the city has the 100% of the takeoff of the power generated from the solar arrays. In reality, the city's consumption of energy is quite close to the 100% now. If the city were to do some energy efficiency, make other building improvements that cause us to use less energy than we are currently utilizing, there is a penalty under the power purchase agreement where a penalty may need to be paid. With this revision, we insulate ourselves against that risk by assigning other electric load from this time from the school department, so that with the 82.5 to 17.5 split, we're better positioned to protect against the whims of the future as it may relate to energy efficiency. This does not change any of the related pilot or lease agreements that have been previously discussed and approved by the council. So the simple action is to allow me to execute an amended agreement reflective of this cost share, not cost share, reflective of this sharing of the electrical offtake. There also in the motion, there are some adjustments related to the technical characteristics of the solar array, that being those known as a result of the construction having been complete of the arrays themselves. The number of them, the generation amount, the tilt of the arrays are all updated technical information that would be in this amended PPA that I'm asking authorization to sign. The next item is the staff proposal for near-term improvements to the Somersworth Plaza. The Assistant Mayor summarized the Public Works and Environment Committee discussion, I think, very well. We are looking to move forward with some near-term aesthetic and safety improvements. I've had the opportunity to confer with many of the unit owners inside of at the plaza, as well as some of the external direct abutters, to review some scope elements that would be appreciated. Many of these ideas for improvements came forward from our staff, who is invested in the success of the downtown and this site in particular. For the sake of the record, I'll read into some of the improvements we are suggesting that we pursue. The action I'm requesting tonight is to recommend the near-term improvements to the city-owned plaza and to vote to use the building maintenance fund in an amount up to $30,000 and up to $25,000 in currently budgeted contingency funding for a total of $55,000. The scope that I'm going to list now would be our intent to get as far through, if not entirely through, the scope that we've identified. That will be dependent upon final pricing, but we have received significant, detailed pricing for many of these elements, especially the larger ones. We think this is a reasonable budget to get through most all of these items, which would include the removal of decayed and damaged trees and plant new trees along the front entrance area of the property on Main Street and John Parsons Drive. To trim and remove overgrowth vegetation along the Washington Street side. This is both an aesthetic improvement as well as a safety improvement and for the ability to see through the property and get eyes all around the plaza as much as possible. There's repair and repaint the Somersworth sign, as well as power wash and repaint the facade. This is the biggest item, along with the landscape work. This is something that was done many moons ago, often comes up, and we believe that we can do that this fall with the budget that I've described. Other improvements would potentially include fire lane markings, which we're able to do in-house, and hopefully some street furniture replacements. The street furniture and around the plaza is very dated and in disrepair, and is an opportunity to address that, as well as the concrete steps coming from Washington Street. If you drive by the trees tomorrow along Main Street, you might see those trees are in pretty good shape, and there is a remarkable amount of vegetation on those trees. When you get up close to them, you'll see a significant amount of interior rot and hollowing out of many of those same trees. The time to do this is not in a piecemeal fashion when they finally fall down, or finally cause a call out during a winter storm or something like that. The opportunity is now to do it right and make this investment all at the same time, so it can be done in a planned way. So that is the description of the near-term improvements for the plaza. I would point you also to the informational items that we have been successful, along with our Wright Pierce engineers, in securing $3.2 million for the water main related portion of the Main Street project. That was with a 40% principal forgiveness of $1.3 million. So a significant opportunity there, as was addressed by the Assistant Mayor. With that, Mr. Mayor, I thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to item 13, which is nominations, appointments, and elections. Under nominations, appointments, and elections, in accordance with Council Rule 17 appointments, the following are up for nomination this evening. We have Anthony Jones for appointment as a full member to the Zoning Board of Adjustments for a term of 3 years. This nominee will remain in nomination until our next regularly scheduled meeting. Also under nominations, appointments, and elections, in accordance with Council Rule 17 appointments, the following up for a confirmation vote this evening. We have Arthur H. Roseberry Yoder for appointment as an alternate member to the Zoning Board of Adjustments for a term of 3 years. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Witham?
Move for the approval of the appointment.
Councilor Witham makes a motion
Second.
to appoint Arthur Roseberry, seconded by Councilor Gibson. The motion for the council is to appoint Arthur Roseberry Yoder as an alternate member to the zoning board for a term of 3 years. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of the nominee, you'll state by saying aye. If you're not, you'll state by saying nay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, ayes appear to have it. Ayes have it. Nominee is accepted. Thank you. That brings us to item 14, which is items that have been laid upon the table. Under items laid on the table, we have ordinance 25-25, which is to amend Chapter 19 zoning ordinance Section 14 Historic District by adding exempt activities. This had been previously referred to Economic Development Committee, has come out of committee, put on the table, and has now had its official public hearing. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Goodwin?
I'd like to make an amendment.
We need to first remove it from the table.
Oh, I'd like to remove it from the table.
Thank you. We have Councilor Goodwin wishes to remove ordinance 25-25 from the table, seconded by Councilor Witham. Motion for the council is to remove ordinance 25-25 from the table. This is a non-debatable motion. If you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying nay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it. Ayes have it. Ordinance 25-25 has been removed. This now having been removed and having had a public hearing is now ready for a second reading. The chair will ask the clerk for a second reading on ordinance 25-25. City clerk.
Ordinance number 2525, to amend Chapter 19 zoning ordinance, Section 14 Historic District by adding exempt activities.
Thank you. Ordinance 25-25 having read it first and second time and having had a public hearing is now open to further amendment. Councilor Goodwin.
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome. No worries.
I would like to make an amendment to 25-25 per the recommendations of the Economic Development Committee. It was recommended that a significant part of this be struck. So from what I'm going to call the second paragraph, amend Chapter 19 zoning ordinance section 19.14.d.1 all the way down to the bottom of the page, which ends in planning board after the allotted 35-day period. So there's about 3 paragraphs there, be removed in their entirety. So this, I can talk, I don't know if I can discuss what the intent of that is, or if that
Not
is.
yet, but
Okay.
we will get to that. But yes, thank you. So I need a second on this, seconded by Councilor Gibson. So again, the motion for the council is to amend ordinance 25-25, which would remove essentially the second paragraph down to the bottom of the page, which is essentially everything but the first paragraph. Is that clear to the council? Thank you. Discussion. Councilor Goodwin, I'll go to you for discussion.
Yes, thank you. So the intent of this, and we had a public comment this evening in the public hearing that reinforced this discussion during the Economic Development Committee, was that a number of these changes were a little blunt, a little muddy, that a more holistic review of the HDC was a better approach to making changes rather than trying to piecemeal it, and that it was in the best interest of everyone in terms of a clear process and expectation to keep it as it is for now, rather than muddy it further. However, we do understand that the first paragraph, and now the only item left in the amended, proposed amendment, is some good housekeeping, in that the current ordinance does not refer to the map. So having it refer to the map is a clearer, more holistic way to refer to the HDC and not simply a description.
Thank you. Other discussion? Councilor Gibson.
I'm in support of the recommendations from the Economic Development Committee. I won't reiterate what the chairman just went over. I will make one side comment. The Historic District Commission was established to ensure the continuity of the history of the city. And each time somebody comes up with an idea to chip away at the authority of that committee is disrespectful to the intent of the original charter of that committee. I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm a strong supporter of the HDC. I lived within the confines of the HDC for 15 years. I had my fights with them, but I ultimately agreed with their mission, which was to ensure that the city of Somersworth maintains the integrity of their tradition, and that we respect what has gone in the past. It is strangely unfortunate that from a time when it was first charted, that this was supposed to be a landmark to show Somersworth's progressive belief in history, that we've now made them a punching bag for every problem that some fly-by-night outfit that comes along and doesn't like what their standards are, and we try to chip away at that authority. Remember, they've saved a lot of the history of this town. Don't forget that, and make sure that you remember how it came about and why, if it does.
Thank you. Other discussion? Yes, Councilor Witham.
Thank you.
Make sure you silence your phones, folks, please. We're in the middle of a meeting. Go ahead, Councilor Witham.
Yes, I am a co-sponsor along with the mayor of this ordinance revision, but I will support the amendment here this evening. Knee jerk, I don't know, maybe. And I appreciate the comments that were brought forward by the chair of the HDC here this evening. And I will give processes that are already underway, such as your committee to look at the historic district, time to work, and allow the Historic District Commission time to work, because I think this is something that needs constant massaging, because I think we learn as we go. So I'll go along with that here this evening. You know, what I don't know, and I try to have the pulse of the community as a city councilor, and you get that by talking to people maybe these days through social media, whether that's good or not. And what I don't have a feel for here, I don't have the pulse of the community around the historic district. I don't know if people that live in the district want it or not. I'm sure there's a healthy mix of those that do and those that don't. Similarly, I'm not sure that the community as a whole wants it or not. And I'm not suggesting any type of referendum vote or anything of that nature. I think it's my job to try to figure that out. But this is one of those things that I wrestle with. And, you know, there are certainly things that come up from time to time that cause me pause with what we're trying to achieve here. And infill was one of those. And when you spoke to me about it, Your Honor, I'm like, yeah, I want to sign on to this. But I'll give processes time to work, and I'll be patient here, and we'll support the recommendation to amend here tonight. I do like the idea of the map. I think most of us are in agreement there that it's a whole lot easier to look at a map and see a district than it is to read boundaries that are listed out on tax maps. Those are very difficult. So I appreciate the work of the Economic Development Committee and the recommendation to amend as we're having it here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Councilor Pepin.
Yes.
The only problem I have with the Historical Society is sometimes they ask for things that stop development in our community, and I think that's where my heartache is. As far as the Historical Society, I believe in them. The Hill is an outstanding place for it and stuff like that. But there's times that somewhere along the line, the city has to change the direction in which direction that they're going in. We used to be a mill town city. All our transportation was designed around the rail. Things have changed in Somersworth. There's no longer a rail. There's no longer the train that goes to Rochester and goes up to the mountains and stuff like that. We don't get the traffic from Boston that used to go to the ski resorts when I was a kid that used to go through here. We have to make sure that we're at a point that we can still have the historical history and everything that goes along with it as far as trying to design structures that meet into it or whatever, but we can't put ourselves into a position that we're stopping development and we're stopping bringing people into this community, because that's what's going to bring the city of Somersworth forward. Is you got to put people in the downtown area. When we had the mills, when we had housing down through here before urban renewal, and everybody talks about the Historical Society, well, urban renewal took just about 95% of the Historical Society right out of Somersworth. They took down some buildings that were very, very beautiful. And I remember them, and I don't think there's very few people up on this board here that even knows about them, that even remembers them. So I have a heartburn with that, so that's where I'm sitting with it. But we have to get to a point that we have to turn around and make sure that we work hand in hand, that we can still bring development into the community and still try to keep an even keel on the historical things to make sure that it all blends together. And I guess that's where my words are on it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gibson?
I can appreciate the councilor's feelings on the matter, but here's something else. Developers that want to come into a community will do their homework. They'll know what they're dealing with in the community before they consider projects. If they don't have the time and the energy to do that, then right off the bat, my suspicions rise up. I know about development, and I'm in favor of it. But don't let highest best use be your Bible. That has costs, and part of it can actually be that you start to lose the soul of your community because all you care about is throw a building up, have fun.
Thank you. Other discussion? Yes, Councilor Barry.
I understand the use for the map. One of the things I'm a little torn with, I'm not saying a map is not easier to look at, but boundaries change, lots change, they merge, they get separated. And that was part of the reason I understand that these were listed out street by street, property by property. So I want to make sure that we still have that listing because, again, which one would be the actual record? I know the app should reflect that, but usually those lines are easier to put in wording versus change a map multiple times. So that's a little bit of a concern. I'm not opposed to this map, and I probably will vote for this in favor of this. This is a very hard conversation across all aspects because preservation is not supposed to hinder growth of a city. It's supposed to work well. Preservation is also supposed to look at use of buildings. If buildings are not being used, they no longer have a purpose and they won't be saved. So I think a lot of what's said here needs to be looked at. I do think that there's a lot of work that's going to be happening that we need to look at as a whole. We did have a camp that brought a lot of stuff forward that I think our HDC needs to look at and consider specifically. I think we need to get the opinions of our city as well on this because, again, even national preservation standards change over time. Things change within preservation, and we need to make sure that we're looking at that holistically, and as things adapt, new products come out, they're looking at the longevity of those products, how they can be used, can they be used? There's a lot that goes into this. I'm all for the map. I just want to make sure that, again, we have both, because, again, I believe that that is one of those things that has to be done.
Thank you. Other discussion? Councilor Goodwin?
Yes, thank you. I will elaborate a little bit on some of my thoughts here, just given the range of comments. I think there's a lot of good work happening around our internal assessment of the historic district. I think the historic district came about, as Councilor Pupin said, I think with a mandate to preserve the city after some pretty catastrophic missteps with development in the city in its historic downtown. And the reaction was to create a historic district to try to minimize future harm. So there's, I think, a clear historic mandate that the community has to do that. I think we've lost our way a little bit on how we implement that, how we talk about it on our board, what our design guidelines are, cases where we're being confronted with cases that we've not had before, large-scale infill development. It's not a thing that we've had to consider in the downtown before. So we are experiencing growing pains. We need to reflect on what the mandate is, what does the community want, how do we, as public officials, appointees, and city staff, implement that mandate that the public has given us, and set expectations, both with residents in the HDC, with property owners in the HDC, with developers coming from the outside. My day job is in development. I would say 70% of my projects are in historic districts. It doesn't impede development. It doesn't necessarily inherently cost more to build a building that is historically sensitive than not. I think the asterisk here is building a historically accurate, air quotes, accurate building as though it were 1870 is not possible anymore. But it doesn't need to be difficult, right? And there is a public mandate, and as stewards, we collectively, the council here, the people that we approve as appointed by the mayor to our boards, are stewards of the built environment here in Somersworth. We get to dictate what happens in our community. We are representing our constituents to build a city that we all enjoy and love and can be proud of. And the reason that the HDC exists is because in the past that did not go well. And urban renewal happened. We are still, consistently talking about this, 40, 50 years later, because there was a trauma. It was a community-wide trauma, right? So all of which to say, I think the HDC is invaluable in the community. I think we are doing good work, and it's in progress right now to reflect on that. The core reason why we are rejecting these changes is not inherently because we have the answer to these questions. It's because there is a process in place which will address these questions, and doing it piecemeal, I do not think is productive. So that is my take.
Thank you. Councilor Gibson.
Thank you, Counselor. You said in a much more clearer, concise way what my feelings are. I get a little emotional on the subject, and I may not speak the way I should about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of this amendment, you will state by saying yes. If you are opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Goodwin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent. Sorry, Gibson.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Witham.
Yes.
All right, the amendment passes. With ordinance 2525 having been amended, it is open to further amendment. Okay, so seeing no further amendment, I would need to mention that because this amendment is pretty dramatic and impactful to the ordinance. We will need to have another public hearing if we are planning to pass this. Therefore, I would not be looking for any further amendments, or excuse me, motions related to this evening, unless you would like to defeat ordinance 25-25. That would be the only acceptable motion at this time. Are there any motions from the council?
A question, if I may.
Sure.
So, I hear you, and that is typical when we have ordinances that get amended, that we send it back to public hearing. However, all we're doing is removing stuff from this ordinance. We're keeping one portion.
Fair point.
Albeit a change, I think it's a change by removal, not by rewording. If we were to reword, I would tend to agree with you, Your Honor. I don't see the need for another public hearing because of the action we're taking here.
I see a hand, Councilor Goodwin.
If I may chime in, I would agree with that assessment in that if the public had strong opinions about paragraph 1, we would have heard them through the public hearing process now, and we have heard no negative public opinions related to the amendment that has been made, and there's no additive changes, so there's nothing else for the public to review.
Yes, Councilor Gibson.
I would agree with my fellow councilors.
All of you.
Basically, what you're
Team effort. I'm just kidding.
You don't know how many meetings we had to plot this.
I know, seriously.
You weren't
Should I
supposed
give
to
you
say
another
that.
one?
Basically, it's subtraction, not addition. And as Councilor Goodwin said, no strong opinion one way or another on the substance. So I would agree that it shouldn't need to be put before another public hearing.
Thank you. Taking all your thoughts under advisement, I am still moving forward with the public hearing. My one thought is that there was a question raised this evening in relation to the legitimacy of using the map versus using the kind of street by street or lot by lot. And so I don't know if that's going to bring out any public comment. And I think I'm just kind of playing it safe here, honestly. So I will schedule our public hearing for our next meeting, unless someone wants to defeat it. Motion's still an option, but I don't see any. All right. I know, right? All right, we will move on. Thank you all. Brings us to item 15, which is unfinished business. We have none. Look at that. That's kind of wild. Brings us to item 16, which is our new business. We have only 2 items under other. First up under other, we have a vote for a revision to the power purchase agreement with Amoresco following school board action. As was stated by the city manager in his manager's report, the requested revisions would amend the power purchase agreement for the Somersworth landfill solar project to reflect the city's revised offtake allocation of 82.5%, with the remaining 17.5 allocated to the school district, SAU 56. And this would make related updates to the technical information confirmed following the completion of the installation of the arrays. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Witham.
Yes, thank you. I'd move that the council authorize the city manager to execute an amended purchase power agreement for the Somersworth landfill solar project to reflect the revised offtake allocation of 82.5% with the remaining 17.5% allocated to SAU 56, and to make the related updates to the technical information confirmed at the completion of the project that the manager outlined earlier tonight.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Gibson. Motion for the council is to authorize the city manager to execute an amended power purchase, it's like a tongue twister, agreement for the Somersworth landfill solar project to reflect the city's revised offtake allocation of 82.5% with the remaining 17.5 allocated to SAU 56, and to make related updates to the technical information confirmed following the completion of the installation of the arrays. Discussion. All right. Yes, Councilor Berry.
I'm going to be in favor of this because any way we can avoid fines and penalties, I'm all for. So that's my only 2 cents.
Get that? Thank you, Councilor Gibson.
Just for clarification, Original agreement was for 100% allocated to the city. So what this will in effect do is reduce our commitment and allow the schools to participate in the output from the solar arrays.
City Manager.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to let him confirm or deny.
That's correct.
Was that the suspenseful pause? Second point, because I'm getting old, as I've said, my memory's not what it used to be. Will they be adding more units later on, and will this be part of the agreement, or are they going to be complete as we see now?
City Manager.
That's a good question, Counselor.
Oh, your mic's not on.
Thank you. That's a good question, Counselor. The RFP to which Amoresco responded included both sides of the landfill, if you want. We can call it east and west. What the public sees developed presently is the east side, and the only side under which we are under contract with Amoresco for the ground lease and the PPA, etc. They have expressed interest in moving to the west side, and that's where that stands right now. But this council has not taken any action to have that go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Alrighty, seeing none, if you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying yes. If you're not, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
All right, thank you. City Manager, you are now authorized to proceed with the agreement. Next up, under other, we have a vote to approve staff proposals for near-term improvements to the Somersworth Plaza. Again, as was stated by the city manager in his report, the scope of the work being proposed would be the removal of decayed and damaged trees and planting of new trees along the entrance, the trim and removal of overgrowth vegetation along Washington Street, power wash and repaint the facade and front surface trim along the front of the property, repair and repaint the plaza sign, pressure wash the concrete sidewalks and the pillars, remove and replace or repair any concrete stairs on the southern entrance of the parking lot, repaint the fire lane markings, and then replace or repair any furniture along Main Street. It would also, if approved, fund this project through the combination of up to $30,000 from the maintenance fund and up to $25,000 from the contingency fund for a total of $55,000. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Witham.
Yeah, I'd move that the city council authorize the city manager to proceed with the recommended short-term improvements to the city-owned Somersworth Plaza, with the funding to come from the building maintenance fund, $30,000, and $25,000 from contingency.
Thank you. Looking for a second? Seconded by Councilor Cameron. Motion for the council is to support the recommended improvements to the city-owned plaza and support the use of the maintenance building fund in an amount up to $30,000 and up to $25,000 in current budgeted contingency. I expressed that correctly, right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Discussion. Councilor Goodman or Gibson. Excuse me.
Question for clarification. The concrete revetment behind the plaza, is that city-owned or is that owned by the Legion?
The retaining wall behind.
Yes.
I'll defer to the city manager.
I could not say for sure at this moment. I would say I understand that the city owns everything that is not the building itself, and minus the facade, the city owning that. I do not know the depth of the property line in that vicinity to the degree that you have asked.
Okay. Follow on to that. If it is owned by the city, which I believe it is from my prior knowledge, are we going to be repairing and updating that as needed as part of the project? And if we are, Are we considering resurfacing it with the, I don't know what the proper term for it is, but anti-graffiti, sorry, sealant that they have available?
City Manager.
Counselor, the wall, and presume it is city-owned, is not part of this scope of this $55,000 of improvements. I don't think we have discussions all the time about how we can leverage our role as a property owner at that site to help shape it physically so that it is more easily maintainable and more easily, frankly, policed and better kept by those who use it. But this project of near-term improvements is really intended to take a quick but meaningful investment to be completed this fall to provide the unit owners and the abutters and the residents with a message of our desire to actively manage and better care for our property. We could go a lot deeper. We'll have a conversation with the Public Works and Environment Committee about the paved surfaces in the plaza when we're talking about the pavement plan this year. How far do you go is a question that we've had as a staff and one that will need to continue. But we think what's in front of us tonight is the right step for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Alrighty. Seeing none. If you're in favor of supporting the motion, you'll state by saying yes. If you are not, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
All right, recommendations and funding are approved. Thank you. All right, brings us to item 17, which is comments by visitors. Somersworth City Council and Mayor's Office welcome all visitors and encourage you to voice your opinions and views at council meetings. In accordance with Council Rule 7-C, a time limit of 5 minutes per person shall be in effect unless the council wishes to suspend the rules. Speaker shall not enter into a debate with any person, the mayor, council members, city manager, or department heads. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this evening? Thank you. If you could make sure you state your name and ward in which you live.
My name is Ethan Clark, Ward 1. I just want to thank Ms. Berry and Mr. Goodwin for your guys' feedback on the historical district. Mr. Gibson, I appreciate your tenure here. I want to speak as a resident because I grew up on the Hill. I have a lot of emotional attachment up there, but I could also tell you as a getting older but younger generation person that has been in the city, my heart's in the city, I love the city. When you're through a project that is tens of thousands of dollars to go before a board and have the potential for them just to put it on pause, that can be incredibly frustrating. I think one thing that I appreciate about Mr. Goodwin's feedback is almost anything he puts his hands into, he dives 100% in. It's incredibly researched, and I love the statement that he made that we are stewards. So although these organizations were put in decades ago, they are going to develop in time. The historical district now is not going to look the same as it did 20 years ago. In another 10 years, it's not going to look the same. But I can tell you as someone who has the emotional attachment to the city, it's easy to say, hey, it's not that big of a deal. We want to hold on to our city, but at what cost? I own a home on the Hill. I was told I cannot proceed with a repair because I had to keep the old stuff on there. So what is the alternative? Do I let it rot? Because I ran out of money. And I can be the first one to tell you Mr. Brooks actually advocated for me, so I got no issue with him or his leadership of that department. But unfortunately, he doesn't carry the majority with it all the time. And when you're talking a tens of thousands of dollar project, the alternative is you run out of money or it just sits there. I replaced all the windows except for the front porch because they didn't like the panes. and I had to match them identically. I ran out of money. That's a real thing that happened. You can look up my application. I put it in, followed all the rules. Ran out of money. Is what it is. So I just want to thank you for all the work that you guys do with that. And I do think that's something that we have to consider with those boards, is that the residents are going to develop over time, and we just need to make sure that we're within that. As we're approaching the end of the year as well, I came, some of you may remember, I came here at the beginning of the year. I live on Winslow Drive, just down past Rocky Hill Road. There's been a number of conversations with the residents down that area regarding the dirt portion of the road. There has been no mention of it in the meetings. There was a few comments that were made of, hey, yep, we are going to bring that up. The only thing I want to just throw out there for the council is that we are eagerly waiting for an update. I understand that budget season isn't here, but we all know when budget season does arrive, if it's not brought up, then we just don't want that to fall through the cracks. You have dozens and dozens of residents that are equally waiting for the feedback for that. Last thing I want to mention, I know historically this council has recognized incidents, local, national catastrophes. I was a little surprised there was no mention of obviously the current events going on in our country, especially given the forum that everyone here has. I love Somersworth in the fact that I feel like this community does do a very good job of working together, putting aside our differences. One of the announcements that I had was this Wednesday, September 17th at UNH, there will be a candlelight vigil at 7 p.m. in recognition of Charlie Kirk. So I would love to see some city council members there. I understand not everyone holds the same viewpoints, but I do think this is a great way for us as a country, nation, but also as a local city and community to be able to put our differences aside, stand next to each other, and be united in that capacity. So I wanted to really just make that announcement to our community. Wednesday, September 17th, 7 p.m. at UNH. If any of you were going to mention that in the closing arguments, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I know typically that's done at the beginning, so I do apologize if any of you were going to mention that. But I love our city, I love our town, and you know, it's unfortunate, but it also just reinvigorates why we do what we do and how important it is as Americans for us to put those differences aside and live amongst each other. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment this evening? Thank you. If you could state your name and ward in which you live.
Richard Brooks, Ward 1. Ethan brings up a good point about his project, and I wasn't going to speak, but then, you know, siding was one of the things that we never tackled with our standards for review. And, you know, it's always vinyl. Everybody wants to throw vinyl on stuff. There's so many different options out there. Everybody wants to go the cheapest. That's never a longevity, a good thing. You know, this is one of the things that we need to focus on, and it becomes an appearance. Let's face it, the only thing we have any say over is the appearance of the building. Do we preserve that architectural detail that's maintained over years? I can point out a handful of houses around this area where people have cut trees back to houses that you couldn't see that were overgrown with vines and brush and simply painted them on the outside, and they look amazing now. One of them's right up here on Pine Hill Road headed out of Berwick. You know, some of these old materials are amazing. People that want to strip them off, it's not always the best choice. But at the same time, I also recognize that sometimes it's rotted and you don't have a choice. That becomes the thing. You know, in-kind materials, sure, that's what we allow as it is. It's a big project to dive into. How do we address that? And it's even the appearance. So talking about development, we had a conceptual review recently at the Historic District where they want to tear down a building right down here on Market Street. And we were all for it. I think every board member was all for that. It's not a big development. It's a small lot. And they want to build a building that would be a Tudor-style building. We don't even have one in the city. But we've got like 35 different styles of buildings in this city. So what's one more? And a handful of those are one-offs as well. So it's the idea that you fit something in that builds off a character and not just a boring, bland, modern building that's as big as you can make it. scale and context has a lot to do with this, and that's what we need to focus on to preserve that quaint New England downtown feel. You know, we've got a large development went on. You can see it right out these windows when the shades are open and the sun's still up. From that building to the bridge is our downtown historic area. It's a pretty small area, and it's that little area that we should focus on. It's not all historic. It's weird how it's shaped. It's old politics, but there's a lot of discussion here, not just about do we preserve exactly what is there, or do we mimic or recreate something that keeps that character. And that's the conversation that we need to have moving forward, so we get everybody on the same page and preserve a downtown that we can all be proud of and enjoy, and hopefully bring in businesses that want to thrive off of that nature, because High Street, you have to admit, is a completely different feel. And I don't know that we want that down here in the downtown. So yes, it is a big project. There's a lot of work to do, but we all need to come together and discuss and consider all the options and work towards a better Somersworth downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comments this evening? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item 18, which is closing comments by councilors. Councilor Gibson, you're up first.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Apologize, I can't remember your last name, but I'm sorry to hear about what happened with you, Ethan. I lived on the hill, and I suffered a major fire, and I had to go through a total rebuild of my home. Fortunately, it was back in a time where, what's a good way to put it, reconstruction was affordable. But I worked with the HDC and ended up being okay. Of course, because I had a blank slate, kinda, not too many problems. I think the intent of the HDC is to reflect the character of the community. And when I say that, I mean, it doesn't have to be, to me, it does not have to be original materials. It needs to be representative materials. And this goes back to what I've said before. Let's stop nitpicking with the HDC. If we need a total overbill, sorry, my mouth is not working well tonight. If we need a total overview of the HDC and its charter, then let's do it and get it done right. We have gentlemen like Mr. Berry who have dedicated their time and energy to making the HDC as good as possible. Let's make use of the dedication of the members and come up with something that works. And I forgot the exact term that Councilor Goodwin used, but we were talking about Portsmouth, and it's representative construction, I think he used for, I'm sorry? Contextual construction. That's really what I'm looking for. Doesn't have to be an exact duplicate, but the concept of the buildings need to fit. And the buildings he was talking about, I like them, always have, since they've been put there. Other cities and communities can offer us hints as to how to improve it and make it more workable for our citizens. And with that, I'll shut up.
Thank you. Councilor Michu.
Thank you, Your Honor. I wasn't going to speak any this evening, but I have to speak out on what's going on in this country politically. I don't know how we're going to turn back. We used to be able to agree to disagree and we move on. We can't even do that anymore. I don't like what you're saying. I'm going to kill you, so they go out and kill them. Whatever happened to the point of respecting a human life? That's it. That's all we do have to do, respect another person's human rights. I'm just totally lost for words here. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Witham, you're recognized.
This is a radical shift. We just talk about how we come up with the roads we're going to pave, right? Because that's why I run for office, to do things like that, I guess. So our city engineer and our public works director are aware of Rocky Hill Road. We did flag that at a committee meeting some months ago. Typically, our process is the city engineer, in conjunction with the public works director, will bring forward to the Public Works and Environment Committee, typically late fall, a list of streets that they propose to pave. That is done based upon a study that the city endeavored a number of years ago that gave every city street a rating. It's called a PCI, a Pavement Condition Index rating. And it's a score from 0 to 100. 100 is usually a street that was just paved yesterday, right? And 0 is like a gravel road. So the lower the number, the higher it gets on the list to be paved within the budget allocation that we typically target, which is usually around $900,000 to $1 million a year that we do in road resurfacing here in the city. It's fair to say that that amount of money went further years ago than it does now. And then we also factor in traffic volume. We factor in things like roadway network. So if we're going to pave one neighborhood road, we'll typically do that whole neighborhood. There's just economy of scale and mobilizing equipment to certain areas. So there's a lot of factors beyond the PCI that we look at, but those are all some of those. Rocky Hill Road is on our radar screen. The dollar value of that and whether it can fit within our paving budget is a question. And then an outlier condition that we don't typically encounter is the fact that not all of that road is ours, right? We know that I'll say half of it belongs to the city of Rochester, and would they be interested in paving their section at the same time? That would be an ideal condition. I don't know if it's a deal breaker for us if they don't, but it's a thing that we need to consider during the process. So that's just a little bit about our road paving process. There's sort of a system to it. It seems to work well. Once the council then endorses the list of streets to be paved, city staff then bids that over the winter months so that we can get a contractor in to do the work, typically early spring, and that model has worked out fairly well for us. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Goodwin?
Yes, I'll use my comment to ask a order question. Remind me, my brain is incredibly slow today, so I apologize. But we had a public hearing on the Chapter 31 Community Revitalization Tax Release Incentive for the 28 Green Street project. I noticed their representatives are still here. Action on this is when?
We have 45 days within a public hearing to act, so chances are our next agenda.
So on the next agenda, remind me what's typical. Is it typically a public hearing, then action later that meeting?
We have historically done this.
So was it an omission of this agenda over typical process that wasn't on there?
I don't think so. I think it was more just we had heard word there might be interest in the public in speaking on this and then wanted to give them opportunity and time. Didn't hear anything tonight though, however.
Okay. So the expectation would be probably the next agenda we'll have that item. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Cameron?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll echo a little bit behind Councilor Michaud and to say I'm really sad that how the world is becoming and basic consideration for human life, it just seems to be out the window. Thank you for letting us know about that event, Mr. Clark. And hopefully some people can go to that. Unfortunately, I will be out of town, but hopefully some councilors could go. And I'm sorry that happened to you about your home, too, because while I understand there are guidelines and rules, there also needs to be compromise as well. And so I think those are things that kind of need to be looked at in different committees and not just so straight black and white. So I'm sorry that happened to you. On a fun note, I'm partnering with the Chamber for a Halloween contest of decorating your house. Last year we did the Christmas. This year, I'm adding in Halloween. So all you spooky goblins out there who like to decorate your home, you can sign up on the chamber website at info@somersworthchamber.org. And please get those in as soon as possible. It will be a map like we did the Christmas one, and you can start driving around October 1st. And Don't Trash Somersworth is this Saturday, the 20th. We are doing Willand Drive and Commercial Drive, once again, from 2 to 3, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Berry?
I just wanted to say my thoughts are with our Ward 4 moderator who had to resign with what's going on with him and his family, because he was my ward, so I got to see him regularly, so my thoughts are with him. I actually was going to remind the public that I see a lot of opinions, a lot of people taking notice, especially this time of year as elections start happening, and I was going to remind everybody, if you'd like to get involved, please run for a position that is going to be open. That includes all of City Council, that includes all of the school board. You know, we need opinions, and that also kind of segues into what's going on in this. I'm not gonna lie, it's scary right now to be out here and to see what's going on. City councilors have been attacked, not thankfully in our local communities, but in other communities in the United States. We have other people in politics that are being attacked, as we've all seen recently. So just to echo some other councilors that have said, you know, maybe let's start opening our minds up to, we might not have the same opinion, but at least we can be respectful of each other. And hopefully we want everybody to live. That should never even be a question in my head. But again, I just want to reiterate, please run. We'd love other people out there and new opinions. And again, I think our council does a good job of, we might not always agree. I, for one, don't always agree with other councilors, but I think we can at least respect each other's opinions. So I look forward to seeing more people on the ballots this year.
Thank you. And Councilor Pepin?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to comment about Rocky Hill Road. I have brought that up to the Public Works Department numerous times. You're not the first person that's complained about it in that neighborhood. I've brought it up. We can find a way of talking to Rochester about grading it once a year to try to get the rough roads out of it, but we couldn't find a conversation to have them when they were doing that paving that they did over there to hopefully try to get it on the drawing board or whatever. It teased me off, all right? This is my last year, so I don't really have to put up with it anymore. But it really teased me off. Charlie Kurt, I was going to bring it up because I tried to stay away from the national stuff because really, perfectly honest with you, I am totally fed up with politics, the way national people are representing us. My personal opinion, I'm an independent. What I try to do is I try to vote for the person that I think is going to do the job for the whole community and everybody equally. I vote for a person now, so I vote for whoever I want, but it seems like when I vote for a party, that's what I'm voting for. Because that person that promised you the world is going to vote for whatever the party comes up for. There is no more cooperation between Democrats, Republicans, Independents. It's all I, or a certain group. So I get totally teed off. And I don't know what the answer is. You look at the way our country is right now, you look at some of the words that come out of some of these politicians, how because of Trump's president or whatever it is, and they like the four-letter word, I guess, at least the Democrats do anyways. They say that quite a bit. And they expect respect out of us. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's our cell phones that is whopping things, if it's the way our kids are being taught in school anymore. Is there not enough religion or the freedom of religion in this country anymore? I am just totally frustrated. And I am totally frustrated with the voters. Pay attention to who the heck you're voting for. That will make a big difference in this country. Get some judges that have some sort of acknowledgement when you let a person out on bail that they're probably going to go out and do it again. This is the society that we're growing up in now. It wasn't the society that I was born in, but this is what we have right now. And until someone with a brain on their heads get their act together and start enforcing laws the way they're supposed to be enforced, treating people with dignity and respect, even though you have a different opinion, I don't know what the answer is. I really have a very, very, very sad to see the way the people of America are voting in some of these communities. Look at New York City, I'm sorry, but if the election goes the way everybody says it's going to go, somebody's going to be in some heartaches there. So, but, you know, it is what it is. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item 19, which is future agenda items. I have on my list from tonight, looking into Cemetery Road, West High Street street sign, would be the Public Works Committee, if you don't mind. And then I had vehicle and pedestrian education. I'm not really sure where to place that. I'm like tempted to do traffic safety, but I don't think that that's really their charge. It might be something that you and I work on together. How about that? Try to see if we can find a spot for that, because I know you brought it up to me earlier. Is there anything else on future agenda items that people want to bring up or that I missed? Yes.
It's more of an informational question. In the charter, what is the review period, or do we have a set review period for the charter?
Review period for the charter, meaning like when do we as a city review it?
Yeah.
I think you have to do I want to say referendum vote to get that open, and then we have a whole charter committee that's formed, and then the committee opens up the entire charter, and then the committee is responsible for sending items to the voters.
Yeah. The only reason I asked is because all this baloney about redistricting going on around the country, I didn't know if we had a set review for the charter.
No, we don't. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other future agenda items? Okay. Brings us to non-public session. We have none. Last item is adjournment. Since Councilor Vincent's not here, Councilor Gibson moves that the City Council stand in adjournment to our next meeting, seconded by Councilor Barry. Question for the council is adjournment. If you're in favor, you'll state by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying nay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.